This is log number 432781. We once again urge anyone out there hearing this, you should already know what to do by now. I like to wonder a lot about the future whenever I'm playing a Kingdom Hearts game. Because, well, I see the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole little celebrity family. While there are some clear favourites that make the family what it is, there are also some wacky cousins hellbent on dragging them into the dirt. And, of course, that unmentionable branch of the family that is just up to some insane shit. Each individual member or game is their own notable thing, but the fact that all of these things are linked together is what makes it all fucked up. No matter what each person does in the moment, you can't help but wonder about what the next little cantankerous grandchild will be. And as you ponder what group the next entry will settle into, you find yourself attempting to predict the future of the family, or as the series as a whole, leaving you endlessly yearning for the nth game that will be all that you want to play, even if it forces you to abandon any notion of enjoying the one you have at the moment. A somber start, but it's important to note that Melody's Memory is the first game that separates itself from all that. It's not trying out the next glaze of innovation on the family ham, but it's also not making any effort to scrub away the rotten stench of the story it's known for. It simply celebrates the undisputable best part of the Kingdom Hearts series. Its music. To preface this by saying that I am a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, and while I have opinions, I am going to focus on this game alone and leave its crazy lineage be just for a second. The idea for the game was set out to Tetsuya Nomura around 2015, but he turns this down and comes back to it around 2017. Now, this gets a bit hazy for the next bit, but stay with me. So, Kingdom Hearts 3 has been a bit of an ancient myth, having been announced in 2012, but actually had been in the talks to be created since 2005, when Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mixes came out. But he was busy with FF15, so he put this off.
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
Whatever the actual reasoning, a Japanese company called Indie Zero got the green light to make a rhythm game in the same game as their theater rhythm series. And while I didn't know this before playing the game, I can actually kind of see the signature color patterns and their pattern and style bleeding through. Melody of Memories was finally announced with a trailer on the 20th of June 2020, and then nothing was heard about it until it was released in November 2020. But, like I said in the ramble, Nomura had a lot going on, working on and releasing multiple games, so the radio silence is to be expected. Also, as I said, many games, family, up to some nonsense in the background. But I said I wasn't going to talk about that. So let's hand it over to me in the past and we'll see what I think. Well, I only found this game because... Actually, that's a lie. I am one of those crazier people watching the series and pining my hopes and dreams on the various interpretations of the quotes within the series. So I saw this from miles off and I thought it would just be a bit shit. Yep, I was completely judgmental on this one, mostly for my own sanity and wallet. A rhythm game for £50 takes the absolute biscuit. Thankfully, I'm a larger greedy fuck, so I couldn't resist picking that biscuit up. And oh my, is it a delicious biscuit. Rhythm games are often very simple in terms of what the gameplay will stretch to, and this one felt no different, but has a really simple but well thought out core element sprinkled in just to keep you addicted a bit more, and god does it work. For this rhythm game, the notes come towards you, standard. You have to press the button at a rough time to the music, as expected. Just press A, you're sorted. Okay, now there's an enemy in the air. Just press jump, a different button this time, spectacular. B, and then A to get in the air. The jump is a little slow, so you have to look ahead and see if there's enemies that you have to jump for, just so you don't miss them. You you'd like to spice things up in the factory. Alright, sure, that's kinda nice. Oh look, some enemies require magic instead, which you must press X for. Okay, we're pressing 3 buttons now. Too revolutionary. Oh, and just as a final touch, the 3 attack buttons. Okay, sometimes you have to press all 3 buttons, or a combination of buttons at the same time for enemies in a line. Okay, well, knowing all that, I can just shift this puppy over to proud mode, and holy mother of God, my fingers. Let's take this pause. Ruined games have a long-trodden legend of being made for the sole purpose of flogging plate plastic instruments, ranging from the lovable guitars, the unique bongos, the what are we still doing here turntables, and finally the most embarrassing of all, the dance mat. Yes, they are by definition ruined games, go fight someone else. The craftiest wizards on the dev team must have come up with the ingenious idea that instead of making you feel like you play some cheap plastic instrument the publisher wants to stuff onto a box, how about making you feel good about playing the moderately expensive Joy-Cons instead? And it just fucking works wonderfully. I played through a whole bunch of levels and I got hooked. While the slower paced area themes from the various games are pretty fun and proud mode, the real action takes place in the iconic battle themes, which are where the game really starts to shine. I did get a bit too far into the game, and yeah, I definitely did overdo it and got frustrated, and you know, when a certain level type came up, I just, didn't touch it again. But thankfully, here we are to give me another excuse to get back to it. So, speaking of, I'll pass it over to me in the present and see how good I get playing the Joy-Cons, I guess. Much like picking back up any instrument after a while, when I've shared it. Sure, I'm playing this docked and recording it, so there could be a tiny bit of baby delay, but I still have trouble getting the muscle memory to just, get in there and get to work. Even playing the easiest mode, I found trouble getting an all clear, and I think there's something to that. But we'll swing back to that a bit later. Aside of all that, I really forgot how much of this game I actually played through, and realistically how fucking bullshittingly addictive some of the challenges are. You might be worse than me at this game, and that's fine, but what drives me to be bad at proud mode is that I can feel the rhythm of my favourite songs in each press, and in harder levels, that's what the number of base difficulty scale is anywhere from a 10 to a 15, I started being on time to a specific instrument, meaning I had to listen to my songs harder just to keep up with the tempo. I even gave my absolute favourite song another go, and learned that you had to effectively strum rhythmically between the 3 buttons just to hit different notes fast enough. I've collected over 200 of the 354 stars in the game, and I still feel I've barely scratched the surface when I first played it, but that's not quite true. I mostly sped through the game when I first played it to get to the gooey story-based center that I expected at the final level, and meaning it had to be there when the giant level at the end offered the final door warning. Guess they remembered to put the one in this game. So now all that this was just a bit of training so I wouldn't have egg on my face recording the final boss. I have some pride, okay, sue me. I mean, it's not like the game has 2 other modes that I haven't trained for, and one of them is an incredibly interesting way to handle boss fights, and the other is the most lazy phone-it-in thing that has been presented within the game. I really hate this. I hate that it's even part of this level, the final level, let alone the last 7 levels. I'm not even going to show you footage of them because it's all just this. Your character floating around and you press buttons in time. That's all. This part of the game sucks because while the game has faults, it has faults for trying something new. A big problem I had was that when you mistime a note, you don't just ill-time the swing. Even if you press it a little early, it didn't register because your presses can only register when it's close enough, meaning that it's actually worse to be too early, and that's because they're going for the style of actual animations between multiple hits. I guess that's my guess anyway, and that's difficult, and as a result, looks neat. When your standard is this creatively driven to get the feeling across from the mainline games to open spin-off, it does end up shining twice as hard with the fuck-ups though. Oh look, I finished the floaty section, and after some cutscenes, you're now asked to pick a difficulty, and maybe we'll get some actual gameplay with this final boss, if we're lucky. And it proceeded to whoop my ass. Which is an excellent introduction for the boss stages that will do the same. While you run along the music track for both the battle and area stage themes, if it's boss music that you're doing, and sometimes you actually fight that boss. No, really, the actual boss with your actual party. Yeah, see what I'm talking about creativity. It's more of a gauntlet than an actual boss, as it doesn't have health while you do, and you just lose it for missing notes. The boss levels also have these sections of the track called the Dark Zone, where you not only have to hit the notes, but anything short than excellent will lead you to taking more damage, as the boss does its signature attack from the real fight it has in the other game. And the final boss, you ask? Well, after failing to get past the first Dark Zone on Proud Mode, I beat it on Standard, and the game showed me the final cutscenes, which I'm not going to touch on because I promised I wouldn't, and I really don't want to, and then rolled the credits. Despite the credits, that's actually just the tip of the game rather than the end. I still have to finish unlocking the rest of the levels, trying out the weird ranked system, and all sorts of things that they stuffed into this game. So I'll run away like a coward and let future me try to figure this out. Oh, we all have our fair share of cowardice, don't you worry about that. But yes, I did manage to fit in time to do it all. Yes, all of the star missions, all of the fake rank system, and even hopped online to give that a go. But let's start with the campaign, which is just clean up. A lot of the good missions are either a test of meeting specific conditions, such as specifically hitting all of the one kind of enemy, or hit X percentage, or some other qualifier, which were good when challenging. It gives a whole new way to make you focus on specific sections of the song that you do overlook and stumble through, but now you have to learn and improve how to do them because they're specifically there to trip you up. The bad kind of missions were the ones where you had to do something a certain number of times, which on the surface isn't too bad, but when it tells you to hit the 200 enemies out of a mile across, so you play through it perfectly only to learn that 40 exist on the track, it means that you have to play the song over and over again. This mission felt a lot more annoying on songs that I didn't like rather than any other, because it meant that I didn't have to care, I just had to clear it multiple times, which just took me out of the whole experience, really. When you do get enough stars though, you unlock the shadowy mystery bit before the final boss, which has 3 classic songs from secret bosses of the series, which I actually enjoyed. The stable theme of Sephiroth even has the ridiculously hard mission of perfect accuracy on 77% of all of the notes, and on Proud, it is insane. Given that this boss is typically as ridiculous in the more combat focused of the games, it's a nice touch. That being said, it's all let down by the idea that I could wipe the floor with it by doing it as a beginner, which takes the punch out of it. And that's what I did for all of the missions I struggled with. No backlash whatsoever. I found this to be a bit cheeky and almost wished that the stars would be exclusive per difficulty, or at least roll down to encourage higher levels, but I got the star, so who am I to complain? With the main campaign rolled up, which did nothing special, it was time to move on to the versus mode, which was something. It was only worth mentioning because I noted it down, but realistically it's you playing a selection of tracks against a computer, and since you can't see said computer, it's extra early because you've asked it to play pretend. Sure, you could crowd around people that also have the game and play with them. But why? No, yeah, sure, human companionship, but for all intents and purposes, you might as well be in 2 separate rooms shouting the total points at each other. If you're missing the tricks, why not just throw pillars at each other or something? It's an equal experience. Now, for the sake of clarity, I want you to know that I made it to the highest rank playing against the computers, so not only am I an expert of the versus mode, I want to sit as the harbinger of it, preventing the same dumb experience. It's a fun dumb experience against the computer, but boiled down, it's just the same as playing the songs in a normal way. Which is odd, because they've got this cool new thing, which is just playing the songs in track mode. Track mode even has some songs which aren't anywhere else. That's not a good thing. I just thought I should put that out there in some futile hope that someone puts it somewhere else. Cough cough Spotify. Maybe. I don't know. Speaking of futile hope, the online experience. I could go into graphs and statistics of players, but the reality is that the best way to showcase it is that while recording this whole section, I have been searching for a match, and yet I am yet to find one. Okay, fine. That is a thinly veiled bit, but I'm repeating this 3 times, which will show for variety. And yes, I know I may not get the best connection in this shit, but I don't think that's the problem. Also, this is future version. This person's a liar. I did eventually get into a match and got my ass handed to me. The online connection is Switch-esque, and I have a middling connection, and the setup is in my room. So whoever in the ship beat me, whooped my ass and also knows Japanese. I don't know. Back to the past. I don't know. Back to the original Future Me. That wraps it for me. I'll likely still find myself picking this up now and then and just quietly wondering why Switch is the only place I can legally listen to Melody of Conflict. Well, that is a poignant note to end on. Yeah, I'm not proud of that either. Let's hurry on with the results. So, what kind of family member is Melody of Memory? One of the unremarkable? Up there with them big and famous? Or part of the weird a lot in the depths? Well, that's their whole problem. As much as I'd love to treat this game as some emancipated child from the series, because in gameplay terms it is, but it's also the 14th game in the family, which is celebrating every game in the series so far, which is also telling people that this is a perfectly fine way to experience all of the story so far, completely different from any other game. I love this series, warts and more warts. But having people jump into this is just a surefire recipe to be confused and alienated from enjoying the rest of the series. Sure, that might have something to do with how feverish fans like myself get around the series and how confusing the series is to get into, but this is where the line has to be drawn. This is not for newcomers. It is a celebration of a truly beloved series, and while that celebration itself isn't that much to write home about, it does no one any favour by showing up unannounced to the family reunion and then complaining about the frosting on the free cake. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory is a beautiful tribute to long-time fans of the Kingdom Hearts series, made to highlight the music of the series in an engaging and interesting way, even if it happens to be a Kingdom Hearts game. It won't test those that are more experienced of the rhythm ups, but for those coming back to check out how Kairi will get jobbed out in this installment, it'll pack a decent amount of challenge for your fingers. Just don't think you'll be testing these skills against people you don't know. It bolts neatly into a +2. Entirely because it's a Kingdom Hearts game and I can't resist. It's closer to a 1 as there's still a lot of game that does it well, but it doesn't make up for just being a really dressed up way to listen to Kingdom Hearts music legally. So yeah, bit of a downer, but that's how it shakes out sometimes, even with my favourite series. And on that bit of motif, this is Officer WorkingWiggz signing off.